An interesting fact about San Pedro, California is that when people first come to visit or when they move in, they call it by its formal name, San Pedro. But after they lived here for a while, they start to call it San Pedro. But you know someone's been here for a very long time when they call it simply Pedro. Hi, I'm Andrew Perry, a proud Peninsula resident and a member of Los Angeles Harbor Masonic Lodge number 332. The area around San Pedro has a rich history, spanning thousands of years, and the city itself hundreds of years. But today's story takes us to the last years of the 1800s. By 1896, San Pedro was already an established port for the city of Los Angeles. The port itself was small, but so was Los Angeles. Consider that Los Angeles back then had approximately 75,000 people, and that was just over half of the county's population. For contrast, in 2020, LA County had a population of approximately 10 million people, with 4 million of that living in the city of LA. While today's county is essentially concrete, industry, and homes, the 1890s LA County had one big town and several smaller towns interspersed throughout, and plenty of wilderness in between each community. Oh, and I forgot, there was Freemasonry in the region back then. Freemasonry and other service organizations and fraternities are an important part of the fabric of any community. Back then, this was the only Masonic lodge in town, Wilmington Lodge number 198. Masons living in San Pedro had to travel the 4 miles on dirt roads or paths from downtown San Pedro to Wilmington. One of these early San Pedro Masons was actually a pillar of the San Pedro community, a man named Daniel Randall, or Dr. Clay. Clay was a realtor, an active Chamber of Commerce member, San Pedro's first volunteer fire chief, and a San Pedro booster. San Pedro's current success can be attributed to men like Dr. Clay. In 1896, Clay was the Worshipful Master, kind of like a president, of the Wilmington Lodge. By late July 1897, the Grand Lodge of California had granted that a lodge could be formed in San Pedro under dispensation, and on October 15, 1897, San Pedro Lodge number 332 was officially chartered. The first meetings were held at the Eagles Hall in downtown San Pedro, when Front Street connected to 6th Street. In October, Clay served as a charter master and only served for a couple of months. The first Worshipful Master to serve a full year was a gentleman named Edward Young, who served as Worshipful Master in 1898. 19 years later, the very first Masonic Lodge building in San Pedro was built in 1916, located at 221 West 6th Street. Its cornerstone was laid by Grand Master William Rhodes Hervey, a very influential and well-known Mason of the day. 30 years later, in 1946, the building was vacated because Masonry was just about at a peak in the United States. A bigger building was needed. For about 10 years, the Masons rented part of the Oddfellows building, which is still in existence today. In 1956, a new location was found on the 1600 block of 9th Street, and construction began. Grand Master Edgar Stewart and the lodge's Worshipful Master James Hendricks, not that James Hendricks, laid a new cornerstone. Finally, in 2 years, the lodge building was completed and officially inhabited by Masons. Over the years, many things have happened. In 1964, the lodge started a new awards program called the Hiram Award. This award recognizes a Mason for his selfless service to his lodge and his upholding of Masonic principles like fraternity, charity, and truth. While the Hiram Award started in San Pedro, the idea caught on, and lodges all across California now bestow it upon their own members. Today, it is regarded as one of the two highest honors of a Freemason, the other being the Worshipful Master of a lodge. In the 1980s, several lodges closed and consolidated with San Pedro Lodge, which prompted the name change to Los Angeles Harbor Lodge. Today's Masonry is different than the Masonry of the 1950s to the 1970s. At that time, they were trying to focus on how to house the influx of millions of Americans who wanted to be part of the fraternity after the World Wars. But that was reflective of a trend, and in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, membership was declining. However, that's nothing that a little introspection couldn't fix.
The truth is, Masonry has always been about cultivating the good qualities of a man by inspiring him to be virtuous and ethical in all of his actions. California Freemasons recognize this and have been emphasizing that a Masonic lodge's focus should be on making Masons out of quality individuals. This new focus harkens us back to the days prior to World War I, back when Masons like D.R. Clay were active pillars of their community, who were thought of as good and honorable. In fact, those alone are the most important traits of any man to enter into Masonry. Well, that and actually asking to become one, of course.
I'm Andrew Perry, and on behalf of Los Angeles Harbor Lodge number 332, act upon the square and meet upon the level.